Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Kissy. So today I wanted to do a reading and a few things that have come up that I think are relative to the current energies, astrologically speaking. The energies I watched recently, which I'm a little late to the Marvel game, or I guess you could say the comic book franchise, but The Flash, Barry Allen. It was raining, thundering here 2 days ago. I'm talking about a massive storm, thunder, lightning, and it was interesting that it came as I had this conversation with the universe, and then that happened. So it kind of got a conversation going with my son, where he was talking about how it made him feel, how he feels that way on the inside, like really fast. He was talking about how his energy feels really fast. And of course, I'm like, well, of course, it has to be Aries, right? I'm like, oh, maybe that's Apollo, maybe this, that. And I'm like thinking, but then I'm like, wait a second, I'm not really sure. Because I had my doubts, so of course, let's watch The Flash then. I know there's a movie of The Flash, let's watch it. So we got settled in and started to watch it. I really enjoyed The Flash. I mean, his very Mercury energy. I realized very quickly that he was very Mercury. His anxiety and I was like, oh, that's the speed that my son might be feeling, the Mercury energy. He doesn't, obviously, he's a child. He doesn't know how to label what he's experiencing energetically, internally in his body. But that was just like my first thought. You associate fast and you think, oh, okay, well, in my mind, fast and Aries go together. But that's just me. That's how I perceive my own personal energy. So it didn't dawn on me until I was like, wait, let me not be so sure of this, because I obviously, that Mercury operates in a very witty, quick way as well. But it wasn't my first instinct to presume that the energy was going to be Mercury. So watching it gave me such a beautiful analogy to the Mercury energy. I'm not going to spoil it or talk about the movie like that, but I think that's relevant at this time. A lot of anxiety could be coming up for a lot of people. Feelings of wanting to reflect and maybe going back and fixing what we think we're responsible to fix, things like that. I mean, that's been a theme coming up for a minute, for me at least. So the nostalgia in the movie was amazing as well. And then it's so interesting, the song that the mother would sing to him, that he sang the lyric also in the movie. La vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas te dan la vida. I love this song. This is life gives you surprises, surprises life brings. And that song is Hector Lavoe that sings it. So I'm not even sure what sign he is, but that was such a major part of my upbringing, and I wonder if that's why they use it in the movie. Because he's half Hispanic, so the Hispanic culture, I know that is definitely a theme. Like, if you grew up in my era, you were probably listening to that music. It was very popular. Anyway. Okay, so I started a video before this one, and because I wasn't sure if the microphone was connected, I am going to put it attached to this. This will be the part 2 to that video. And I did start talking in that one about the womb healing. I feel like it's been I'm talking about the energetic womb healing, but you may feel it if you receive like psychosomatic issues. In other words, yes, you could have your own issues perhaps with the womb, or you could have back issues or something to that effect, but it's affecting the area of the womb space. This could be for the masculine as well, issues with digestion or anything like that, right? But the image that I saw was, and I'm just going to reiterate if you don't want to visit the part 1, which was short and brief, but the image was of like 1950s. It could be 1950s also, but the image was originally 1500s era, and a woman giving labor and the pain and the massive rage that came through her as she was bringing life to this earth. And I feel like maybe the earth is going through this process, but it's like almost like a sacred release. It's not, the release is no longer attached to the pain body in the same way. It's almost like or maybe not vilifying the pain body makes more sense. It's creating understanding, or it's that process of birthing, that rage, that release of pain, as opposed to it just being, oh, this is labor pains. No, it's a sacred power that can be harnessed and projected into a reality that is pure, that is, and by pure, we're meaning it's of an innocence that's being birthed, an innocence of life. I don't know how to explain it, but innocence is not ignorant. Because I think some people might take that and think, oh, that means, because when you're innocent, you're ignorant. No, very wise, but an innocence that it's not tainted by the dark projections. It's not tainted by negativity. And it's like it's birthed in a safe haven. It's birthed in a sense that is protected. And it's like the idea of birthing and knowing that the processing, it's like if you can process during the birth, not just the physical pain of the moment, but the emotional and the culmination of all that was, whether it's unfulfillment, whether it's disappointments, all the negativity, you're releasing that in a way that is healthy. In the process of birthing, you're releasing that to the world in a way that is I want to say unfiltered, or just pure, because it's substance, universal substance. But it's because it's being consciously, it's happening in a sacred space. It doesn't get tarnished. So that was just an image that came to me. So it could just be speaking to the birth of an idea, and that idea being pure in the sense that, it's no one can tarnish it. No one can project their negativity onto it. No one can make it feel wrong. Nobody can make it feel bad. It's like, no, this is my baby. This is my gift. This is my, whatever it is encapsulated, or it is born into an environment that is sacred and intentional, or intentful, or purposeful, with the knowledge of the sacredness of that moment. I think birthing in hospitals has lost that in the day-to-day, bringing babies into the world, just, without it become, you know what I mean? And some would say, that's just a religious thing, because it, in a sense, the way I'm expressing it might sound like making it a sacred space is like a ritual. But why wouldn't we have a ritual for the birthing process? I mean, you might have, but I know I didn't have one. I didn't even know I needed to have one. It was just the most natural thing was, you're about to have a baby. This is the hospital you're going to come to, and that's it. We deliver the child, and 2-3 days you're home. That's it. It's like, it doesn't mean, no big deal. It's just a normal procedure here. It's like that, you know what I mean? Like there's, and yes, we have, depending on your religion, baptism, or you have some sacred, ceremony that you do for the child privately at home and stuff. I'm talking about providing the space for that to even be a thing. And now I guess they are doing it with having doulas coming to your home, but I'm wondering if what I'm talking about here is just a matter of making that more common knowledge, or making it more society-wise, making it more significant or culturally acceptable, or less taboo, or bringing into awareness that there are things that are sacred and should be treated as such. That you cannot just make everything a corporation of a process, like a factory. Everything cannot be a factory. Bringing babies into this world should not be treated as a factory. And it kind of feels that way in some places. All right, anywho, I thought about bringing out my therapy cards, my psychology cards, because I think it would be fun to see what is unconscious for each sign. So I'll go ahead and read each card. The one that came out originally when I decided I was going to use it was the unconscious. So that's how I'm going to choose a card. What is unconscious for each sign at this time that maybe is something to look into deeper. Okay, and unconscious is the part of the mind that is only rarely subject to awareness, containing repressed instincts, memories, wishes, ideas, and images too anxiety-inducing to be introduced into consciousness. So it brings upon so much anxiety that it cannot be introduced into the consciousness. So it's characterized by Freudian slips, meaningful dreams, disassociated acts, seemingly inexplicable conclusions, and psychotherapeutic revelations. My unconscious says yes, but my ladylike upbringing says no. Okay. So we'll start with Aries. Persecution complex. Aries, the abiding feeling that others are motivated to harm, cheat, harass, or conspire against one, regardless of actuality. It is characterized by paranoia, wariness, suspicion, assumption of the worst in others, externalization, defensive or hostile behavior, glee in being proved right about others' malicious intentions. Ooh, then it says, touche, your persecution complex is justified. Oh, Aries, that's so relatable. I don't know about you, but for me it is. All right. And I think that there's individuals that know that this is something that Aries could be dealing with, right? On a psychological level, perhaps, on a archetypal level even. But I think there are individuals that are aware of this and purposely try to induce that same reaction to respond as a person that's feeling that way, in order for them to say, aha, you see, there you are, doing exactly that thing that we believe you're supposed to do because you're this way. You see what I mean? But anyways, next is Taurus. Stress. Taurus. Psychological and physical strain or tension generated by physical, emotional, social, economic, or occupational circumstances, events, or experiences that are difficult to manage or endure. This is characterized by pulling one's hair out, eating too much, eating too little, sleeping all day, short temper, general surliness, or poor health, eye twitches, restless leg syndrome, and sleep eating, it says. I am under a lot of stress right now. Oh, Taurus. Could that be how you're feeling at this time? Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. Maybe it's creeping up in some ways. You might want to check it before it gets too overwhelming. Next is Gemini. All right, Gemini. What's for Gemini? Jeez, no. 3 cards for Gemini. That's interesting. All right. Let me just pick one. Inferiority complex, Gemini. It says, a collection of repressed fears and resentments associated with inferiority, resulting in unresolved feelings of inadequacy, insecurity, and self-criticism, especially in comparison with others. It is characterized by overcompensation, acting out, withdrawal, insecurity, timidity, pessimism, depression, tendency to be impelled by external rather than internal motivations, woe is me syndrome. He has such an inferiority complex about the size of his bubbles. I love these cards. Okay, Cancer. Oh, Cancer, that was quick. Codependence. Oh, these cards are funny. Mutual attachment in which 2 or more people rely on each other emotionally, often to the exclusion of outside influence, and encourage one another's pathological condition, especially substance abuse. In classic situations, the codependent cares for the unhealthy partner at the expense of caring for him or herself. It is characterized by resistance to outside observation, inappropriate selflessness or selfishness, denial, exclusion from friends, ball and chain syndrome. Codependence, bah, you and I should always ride the same horse. Oh, we should always ride the same horse. Let's get it together. All right, what was next? Leo? Yes, Leo. Closure. Leo. The feeling of resolution when an experience or relationship draws to a close, an open question is answered, or a long unfinished narrative concluded. It is characterized by lack of closure. Okay, I guess you're getting 2 options here, yes. Lack of closure. It is characterized by, when it comes to lack of closure, critical review or compulsive repetition of unfinished business, inability to move on, blame, guilt, what if mindset. It can also be characterized by a compulsive need for closure, and that would be inappropriately rushing towards endings, early self-disclosure, regrettable sexual liaisons, or sabotage. Finish the story, mommy. I need closure. Okay. Yikes. Who is next? Virgo. Virgo. Transference. The unconscious displacement of feelings and attitudes from one person to another, especially the reassignment of dynamics from formatively significant figures, like your parents or your caretakers, to contemporary relations, like your love interest or your therapist. This is characterized by resentments, inconsistent with current relationships, unsubstantiated assumptions about others' judgments, childlike dependencies, or, I can't say this word, Oedipus complex? Oedipus? Oedipus. Okay, however it goes. Something complex. Someday, when you fall in love, you'll experience transference too. Libra. What might you need to become aware? That was too many cards. That was 2 cards came up for Libra. Nope, that took 2. That was too much effort to for Libra. Hold on. Oh, okay, that's the one. Reinforcement, Libra. This is funny. Responses to behaviors that cause the behaviors to be repeated, modified, or ceased, generally by reward. Positive reinforcement is the individual seeks to re-elicit the positive response, or indifference or punishment is the negative reinforcement. The individual seeks to be noticed or to avoid punishment. It is characterized by identical responses to identical stimuli. Behavior designed expressly to draw a certain response. I get such reinforcement for my exhibitionism. That's a funny witch. Okay. Oh my goodness gracious. All right. This is the one, Scorpio. Because it's the one that I noticed, but everything fell after. So, trigger. Scorpio. An event or thing that causes something to happen, a troubling reminder of a traumatic event, although the trigger itself need not be frightening or traumatic. It is characterized by irrational emotional response to songs, smells, colors, or any variant of elements. It's becoming severely unhinged by small things, flashbacks, or PTSD. Mother, you know porridge is an emotional trigger for me. Porridge. That's what they call it these days. Porridge. Okay. All right, Sagittarius. Self-awareness, Sagittarius. A relatively objective, flexible, open, and accepting sense of oneself, an ongoing process of learning and exploring one's own internal aspects, thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. It is characterized by a lack of defensiveness, capacity to admit culpability or wrongdoing, insight into self and others, receptivity to truth, participation in psychotherapy. Perhaps we're just running from self-awareness. Okay. Moving forward to Capricorn. Okay. Capricorn. Coping mechanism. Capricorn, learned techniques which enable the individual to navigate emotionally stressful situations and maintain internal consistency while adjusting to a particular environment. This is characterized by unvarying behavior in varying circumstances, childlike shutdown during tough times, odd but consistent reactions to certain situations, inability to handle emergencies. Does anybody have a good coping mechanism for this situation? Oh, Capricorn. I love Capricorn. Okay, Aquarius. You're next, Aquarius. What could you be needing to pay more mind to at this time? Give more attention to that might be unconscious to you, Aquarius. Externalization. Aquarius, a defense mechanism whereby outside causes or impulses are attributed to events or outcomes that, in fact, were influenced largely by oneself, in order to avoid exposing the actual internal causes or impulses. It is characterized by tendency to blame others, failure to see one's own role in recurring situations, and lack of self-knowledge, paranoia, or whininess. I've had enough of your externalization for one day, young lady. Don't get mad at me. All right. Last but not least, Pisces. Pisces. Well, abandonment. Pisces, it says early desertion or rejection by a primary caregiver or attachment object, resulting in an irrational fear of being left, excluded, or unloved. It is characterized by disproportionate reaction to inconsequential departures, fear of intimacy, desire for constant closeness and reassurance, temper tantrums, crying, or jealousy. When I was a youth, I struggled mightily with issues of abandonment. Oh, there it is, all 12 signs. Okie dokie. I think I got them all right. Yes, I did. Okay. Well, that's all, folks. I shall return soon. Take care.